DJ Taz Rashid in the house today. What is going on, man?
Brian, what's up, bro? It's good to see you. I don't think we've connected on Zoom or like on FaceTime in a while, so it's good to see your face. And yeah, it's good. Thank you for inviting me. It's good to be here.
It's good to see your face too. You're welcome, man. You look the vibe on you is just looking good. I mean, I hear you're in Florida now chilling.
Well, I showered, so that's always a good thing. No, thanks. Yeah, the vibe, I'll be honest. There's something about Florida. There's something great about the environment you're in, and like I don't know, like I would be in like negative 20-degree Chicago right now normally. That's
I
what it is.
see.
It got like a foot of snow yesterday. In Florida, it's a little chilly today, but it's like 60 degrees or something like that. It's amazing. Like and that really affects your mentality, my just state of being, how I my
Yeah.
mood. And I'm really connected to the weather is what I've seen. Like if it's good weather, I feels like spring all the time here. And you know that
Yeah, you
feeling you
look
get?
relaxed. You look
Oh,
so
thanks.
relaxed right now.
Yeah, I feel it. It's your vibe, man. It's like Yogi Bryan's on, get into a meditative mode. What's up,
Exactly, man.
guys?
We'll start oming soon. Oming soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for
Homes
coming
on.
on. And let's just get right
Yeah,
into it. We're gonna do a little
absolutely.
icebreaker.
Okay.
Tell us something about yourself that most people don't know.
Um, I've lived in 6 countries.
Whoa, 6 countries. Which ones?
Six. All right. So I was born in Bangladesh. All right. I lived there. I lived in Iran. I've lived in Saudi Arabia. Lived in London, Luxembourg, and the US, obviously.
Whoa, that's a lot. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, most people. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's one of those people usually just. I think most people just think that I'm just like an American and like I've born and brought up here. A lot of people don't even know that I'm an immigrant. I came to America in 1990. And yeah, like that's why I love like I don't get into politics and stuff, but like having lived in some of these countries, like I see the craziness that this world is sometimes, and I just like I know the different
right.
perspectives and like knowing perspectives from actually being somewhere completely different of like what may be the enemy or like what may whatever, like knowing different perspectives really adds like a whole new way of looking at the world and where we are as a nation and stuff like that, so it's like I love like traveling and stuff, but I got to be honest, man, I do not want to live anywhere else other than USA. No, like
America.
seriously. But seriously, like I after living in all these countries, going back, this country, in my opinion, offers me and my family what we need optimally,
Nice.
at least
Yeah.
still to this day, and like it's fun to visit everywhere. I love traveling, but living other places, I don't know, man. I'm too used to this country. I
I
love it.
feel that. Plus, you came to the country in the '90s. I mean, that's one of the best eras. I mean, I'm biased. I
Oh, it's
love the '90s,
amazing.
but
Our whole
yeah,
point was get to America. In the 80s, living in Bangladesh and Iran, Saudi, it was always like get to the US, get to the US, like watching the TV, the American movie. It wasn't enough. Like it was like we want that lifestyle, the American dream or whatever you want to call it. And like um they actually denied us visa years and years. Like my parents were doctors and we were always just trying to come to the US. They wouldn't even let us visit here in the 80s. I remember going to the American embassy in Bangladesh. I was little. I remember like I was like 4 or 5 years old and I remember going to the American embassy. They were because they have to ask you questions why you want to visit and stuff like that. And I remember my family being denied like numerous times because back in the 80s, like all these doctors from like India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, they would come to the US and they would just like stay. I don't even remember like that was like a big thing in the 80s. Like it was like
interesting.
Southeast Asian doctors, just people in general would come here, but a lot of
Mhm.
doctors let me rephrase that. I think a lot of people were just coming to America from those countries and just staying, in the 80s. but especially like doctors and stuff like that. So they didn't want that. So we ended up going to Iran for a couple of years. And
How's
anyways,
that?
the people were amazing there, but the government, this is when the Ayatollah had just came into power, and we were in we meaning like Iran, we were in war with Iraq at the time. It was bad. This is when it was like another era. This is where politics is interesting because
Damn, you've seen some shit, man. I
this
had
is
no
when
clue.
it's interesting because this is like 1983, 84. And I remember this stuff, man. I remember being in Iran. I was like, I think like 3-4 years old, but I vividly remember because that was the first time I saw snow was in Iran. Bangladesh is like a tropical country. It's hot as balls there all the time. Feels like just like you're always just like sweating, you just go play and I'm sweating. I hate it.
Take a shower, sweat.
Always, it's like a sponge. It never fully dries. It's because like it's a kitchen sponge, it's like always a little bit of moist. It's like, oh
Yeah.
Anyways,
It's like everywhere's hot yoga there.
Yeah, you don't have to pay extra for hot yoga, exactly. But what was I saying? I mean, Iran was crazy because we were in the middle of a war with Iraq, and back then, America was really good friends with Iraq, and we actually gave Iraq all the weapons to fight Iran. So like all these politics had started back then when like different sides were with different people, and like Donald Rumsfeld was like huge friends with Saddam Hussein back then, and like that stuff is just like crazy to see years later. And again, I'm not a political person, but I just remember that, we were bombed like all the time. We had to leave like the city we were in, go to the village when we were getting bombed. And then sometimes we would come back and sometimes certain buildings were like blown up. Our building
That is scary.
Oh yeah, dude. And I remember like the lights would go off at nighttime, and like when there's like an airstrike, and like because you turn the building lights off so they can't see where the buildings are, so they don't shoot you. So like the air strikes. But I remember vividly. Again, I was a child, but I remember seeing like guns firing at the airplanes, and you could see those like flashing lights, like the big guns. I remember seeing that stuff, and it was freaky. And but I was like a kid, it's like you can't get too freaky, but you're scared, but you're like don't fully understand.
Yeah, you kind of don't process it all until you get older, but, and then it's like got to go on a meditation journey, right? This podcast just turned into a current events history podcast after this episode. I'll have to just change
surprise everybody. What's up?
From spirituality to current event politics podcast. Awesome, man. That's cool to like hear that you've lived in those different countries. Had no clue, and we've been friends and no clue about that. Secrets. So thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. There's a lot more, but I think that's good there.
Yeah. Tell me about your yoga meditation journey. Like how did the meditation journey, yoga journey start?
All right. This is interesting. Another thing people may not know, but I was actually really fascinated with yoga in general, like as early as like 7th grade. And it wasn't because I was brown and like, oh, you must have done a lot of yoga with your friend. No, absolutely not. I actually didn't do any yoga growing up. I'm from Bangladesh, and not many people just like regularly do yoga. Even in India, like it's not like everyone's just like doing yoga all the time.
Right.
Like,
there's most events everywhere. I mean,
most Indians actually don't even practice yoga like in studios. If anything, it's like a home practice. It's part of like, and it's not like full classes. It's like, these are like westernized things that we have really put together and packaged nicely and things like that. And I love it. I think it's great. But it's like, anyway, so I just found yoga and like books on yoga in the library in 7th grade. I didn't understand the spiritual aspect of it at all. Like I didn't even really read into that or understand that, no one was there to like teach me, but I was really into the asana aspect and holding postures and like, like folding my legs up and then lifting up and just like, cause I was like, I used to run track and I was into like exercising, and I thought yoga was just like a really amazing thing. So here I was like practicing yoga in my basement, my parents' house, in like 7th grade, 8th grade. Then I kind of just like forgot about it in high school. And then I got back into it like 2007 and 8. So I took a long kind of pause.
Oh, wow. Which books did you find back then?
Oh my God, I don't even remember. they were like black and white, like posture. Like I don't know any of the names. What's
Microfiche books you were
Oh yeah, in the library, like yeah, like looking at the little screen. It's like, what is this? It's like I need to check this out and take it home. It was in a viewfinder at home. No.
Right. Yeah. Click.
I remember checking up some books like where there were just like yoga postures. I really didn't even like read to understand why you would do. I was just like, hey, this looks cool and acrobatic, and I want to learn how to hold some of these postures. But of course, later around the 2007-8, I started getting into meditation first, and then got into yoga. So meditation was because I was just looking for more chill and peace. And I think we spoke about this in one of our other podcasts, the Yogi Show. Is this like I was just looking for more consciously trying to reprogram my subconscious. I was consciously reprogramming subconscious. And I had read and heard about this stuff, and I got into meditation this way in a really big way, doing binaural beats meditations, guided meditations, and I was still in the corporate world, and I loved it. It was actually like, it wasn't that I was like going to be some spiritual warrior journey. That wasn't the intention. It was just to like be more peaceful with myself, because I was living in like a really kind of like a world that I wasn't really sure what I was doing in, like as far as the corporate world, the matrix, as they say. I was still tapped into like working for, the man, or like whatever you want to say, there's just all these things. Like I was still just like a robot, like doing the tasks that I thought I had to do. But somehow I found meditation in a store, that was one of my clients, and they told me that I could like just be more positive, or I could reprogram my subconscious. And that was a rabbit hole that slowly got me into asking those questions. And what about this? And what's that? Really cool stuff. I mean, it's just like, it's amazing. Like, what if I didn't have that client, like that I found out about binaural beats in that bookstore? What if I didn't go to that business meeting or whatever? Interesting stuff.
Yeah, that is. I mean, when we talked on the Yogi Show, you told me about subconscious reprogramming. Literally that day or that week, I went and looked at subconscious reprogramming, and I found some things on YouTube, and it 100% worked for me. I mean, I still do it at night. That's why I'm so grateful that you mentioned subconscious reprogramming, because subconscious mind is a crazy thing, and especially breaking out of the matrix. What did you listen to at first? Like, what was it?
Yeah, it's very this lady named Kelly Howell. She was like, she still is like rocking. I mean, she changed my life, because like the first CD I bought was a positive thinking CD, and I was selling copier machines at the time. So I was just trying to be as positive as possible. I also found that book, The Secret, back then. Yeah, I was reading that. So I was just like getting into the idea of like using the mind, and like how you look at life, how you perceive things, and what you make of it. It's just like the story that we tell ourselves. It's all a story. You know how this says that like life is but a dream. Like it completely is. It's all about perspective and how we see it, and what we want to tell ourselves the story is like. And like, it's really this is a shitty situation. Is it? Or is it like a learning situation that you can grow from? Like there's just like many ways to look at it, and perspective. So like being positive, choosing to be happy, these are all perspectives as well. And you could choose certain things. Your attitude is one thing you can control about it in a given situation. Like you can get angry or you can get frustrated, but you can also choose your attitude in the given moments. These are things I was learning about.
And were you listening to it when you were sleeping, or did you listen to it when you first woke up? When did you really reprogram your subconscious mind? Was there a certain timing?
Different times. Like sometimes I would like just do meditations during like in the middle of a day, like after I eat lunch, just like tap out. But the best time that I found was before you fall asleep, like in that, it's called the hypnagogic state. And that's when you start going, your mind starts relaxing. It's like, like right now we're in like beta, our brain waves. It starts getting into alpha, theta, and then when you're in deep sleep, that's like delta. And these are not like fraternities that I'm talking about. It's just like alpha, beta, gamma. It's like, oh yeah, that's a good one, bro. No, these are like frequencies that our brain goes throughout the day. Majority of our day we spend our time in beta. I gotta text somebody, I gotta respond to 50 emails, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. When we start relaxing meditation, we get into alpha, slowing down. Maybe we're like sitting there just like kind of like daydreaming, like it starts slowing down. And then deep meditation, we get into like theta mode, but so this time of the day at night, when you're about to fully fall asleep, when you're not sleeping yet and you're kind of awake, that's a good time where you can like take ideas and like mold them into your subconscious, is what they've studied, and I believe that because I've seen it work, but like I would do these meditations so I would fall asleep to it. And you don't need to listen to it all throughout the night. You just need to fall asleep to it. And when it was like, maybe I would realize I'm sleeping, I would just take the headphones off and go to sleep. Amazing. It's a good time to do that. Highly recommend it. I highly recommend it for like a month to do a meditation. You don't have to like do it one day and be like, fuck, I'm still negative. Right. It didn't work. Like
it takes time.
You gotta train. Yeah, it's training. They actually call it brain entrainment. Like you're like literally training your brain to start flexing different muscles and cutting some fat or whatever is not like working out for it. And you can choose it. If you want to like, you can mold your brain however you want. If you want to become like a hardcore racist and you can like, that's what brainwashing is.
Yeah.
I'm just saying like it literally, you're actually brainwashing yourself into a way you want to be. Is what doing.
You can mold your brain however you want to be. That's why it's so important not to look at your phone and scroll and check news right before you go to sleep. Like you gotta fucking reprogram your subconscious mind. Like 100%, that's the number one thing like I've done in like my daily practice is a subconscious reprogram, that's like completely transformed. I did one on abundance, and like opportunities still keep coming. It's nuts.
If you've heard of like hypnotherapy, that's exactly what. And you've done these courses, and you're like a like a trainer, and you're becoming. You already got your training, or
just last week I went up to Vegas.
Congrats!
Did, certification, David Snyder. Insane! Awesome. It's really good. I can't even.
Yeah. So hypnotherapy, neuralistic program, all this like, especially hypnotherapy. That's what their training is to like. I want to quit smoking. You can actually do hypnotherapy sessions and quit smoking, or like because you're training yourself to think in certain ways and triggers where you don't want that anymore. Maybe you'll think of a cigarette and a bad feeling will come and you won't want it. So that's how you're being trained. So it's all, and that's primarily what brainwashing is. Like the word brainwashing has a very negative idea in our society. Oh, you're so brainwashed. But guess what? We're all brainwashed to whatever. Like whatever you're subscribing to, whatever you're watching, whatever you're believing, whatever perspectives you hold, that's your brainwash. That's the 100%. Program you're running on. And so we all have that. I'm brainwashed a certain way and you are a certain way. So that's how we're living our lives, is by whatever our friends, family, TV, whatever, whoever we watch, so it's interesting, that's why I take everything kind of lightly these days, because I just understand that I'm just like, I gotta stop programming, it's
right. Doing your best, especially with the news media and just like everything going on, like it's so easy.
Oh my God.
Being on social media as well. I mean, it's so easy to fall into the comparison game, fall into the stressed out. I have like all this anxiety compared to like, throwing on a subconscious reprogramming, chilling out, breathing.
Yeah, comparative game. Beats. Yeah, comparative game doesn't help anyone. Also, like watching news, like you said, like I know a lot of people who sit and watch the news all like a lot, and like the news has one job, to keep you sitting there watching more news, because they're selling you commercials in between the news, and like it's a business, so their whole job is to like make the cliffhangers, like like giant panda bear swallowed a baby in Missouri. Stay tuned to find out if the baby survived. I gotta watch this. Watch these commercials. It's just like and most people get sucked into that, and a new strand of the virus is out. You can't leave the house. Can't, it's just like, so you start believe, you just watch it because you're like, and that's what you do, is you get sucked into that cycle, keeping you away from other things. And I know a lot of people, even from family, I won't say any names, it's just like, like that are in that world, of watching scary news all the time.
Yeah, and they need to just listen to Elements, your Elements album, all the binaural beats.
Thanks, man.
But yeah, let's talk about binaural beats. Like,
right.
What are they? Why do they help? Your album, Elements, and some of the other things you do. Let's talk about binaural beats.
Yeah, I'll keep it short, but just like something practical. So basically, binaural beats is two different like frequencies in the music. You have to listen to it with headphones, and the music has different frequencies going in from the right ear and left ear, and that creates a phantom frequency inside of your head, so what you're actually hearing, and those other frequencies I was talking about earlier, like beta, like right now we're in beta, then you slow down, you go into alpha, theta, delta. This music can actually help you kind of recreate, or simulate that experience for you with the music, helping you get to that state faster. Okay. That's the claim. I believe it. I experience it. I feel that. And like, so if it's one of my tracks with like theta frequency, the point of that song is to help you get into a deeper meditative state, so like you use my music in your meditations. So when you're speaking with the music in the background, people are using headphones and are listening to it, it'll help them get into that state faster and have a deeper meditation. Yeah. Thank you.
It does. It really does. I appreciate all that music, and it's really helped the podcast and just helped a lot of people. I get a lot of messages saying like, hey, that music really helped, the meditations really helped. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. And that's the whole goal, is for that music to be used in that way for teachers and other people. But yeah, that's in a nutshell. Like, that's the whole point of binaural beats, is to help you get into those states of consciousness more easily.
Yes. And you got to use headphones, right?
Absolutely. Binaural beats, you have to use headphones or it doesn't really work. And then there's these things called isochronic beats, not to get too technical or something. Isochronic beats, it's trying to emulate what binaural beats does with the music, but you can listen to it with the regular speakers, and it's not as good as binaural beats in my opinion, or as strong. But stereo headphones, you're like in that world, like
you're there.
Yeah, and just throw on whatever, like AirPods, or everyone's got headphones these days.
Right, exactly. So tell me about like your career, and you're like mainly in like the yoga industry. I mean, I met you through like Wanderlust. Like, tell me how that started.
Oh man, it wasn't planned out in any way. I like, it's hard to explain. There's so many, like, I didn't plan out to become some yoga DJ, like music producer at all. Like, it was like 2011, 2012. That's when I fully left the yoga. That's when I fully left my corporate life and into this, I would say, the creative expressive life, not necessarily the music career. I was like, I wanted to get into like my purpose and calling. And at that point, I wasn't producing music. I was a musician. Like, I've been playing music since 5th grade, piano, guitar, whatever, singing, but I wasn't like producing music with a computer and all the stuff that I do. But I knew that I wanted to elevate people's energy with music. That's what I knew. I wanted to transform lives. And I wrote down my purpose with my friend Soleo, who's a life coach, awesome guy. He was like, hey, let's write down your purpose. And my purpose was to elevate and transform humankind with music,
When was that?
That was like 2011. I just left. I was working at DeVry University. I had just left them. I was recruiting students online. They fired me. Actually, I didn't leave them. They fired me. Thank God they fired me. Yeah, but I wrote that down. I was like, I don't know like what I want to exactly do, but I know it has to do something with elevating people with music. And I wasn't even DJing yet. I just had some ideas of wanting to DJ. So I just like bought a DJ controller and a program and just taught myself. And around around the end of 2011, I did my first like conscious party, and it was like a drug alcohol free, not a free drug alcohol, but just drug alcohol free. Like there's no substance at the party, and it was just like an alternative way of celebrating. That was the idea. And like 60 people came. You know, we used to, my wife and I, we used to hold a meditation every Friday, and after the people would stick around because I'd always just play music, you know, and people would be like, "Hey, you should like get some like lights and stuff, and people can just hang out." I'm like, "That's a great idea." And I was just like, so I threw this like event, and all these people came, and I was like, this is like like I could just do this like once a month. And I put on this event called Club Divine, and it was in Chicago, and you know, it became like this thing for a couple of years. Like people, like we would get like 150, 200 people, you know. It was like one Friday out of the month, and I had myself, different DJs, different rooms where like healers would be, like massage and Reiki and like astral travel and, you know, tarot card, all that stuff. And then there would be like a chill room where there's like sound healing, people are relaxing, maybe poetry. And then there was like the dance DJ room where there's like people dancing. And I even had like vendors. I organized all this, had a little team.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Oh, dude, it was cool, man. It was like 2012 to like 2015 I did that. So almost like 2.5 years. It was like really like the kind of one of the spiritual events in Chicago that people would want to go to. And it was like all kinds of like, mostly like people in their 20s and 30s, some 40s, like that were just looking for an alternative way to celebrate together rather than getting drunk, you know. And
yeah,
and I wanted to offer that, and I just loved it because you know, it was a way for me to be still in a party world, and I wasn't drinking at the time or doing anything like that, and it was just really cool for my wife and I to do that. And I learned to DJ, and I kind of created a name for myself doing that. And then other people started reaching out to me, like yoga studios in that 2014 time would be like, "Hey, you want to come DJ a class?" And that actually also started with my wife. She went through yoga teacher training and connected me to her teachers. They knew I would do these parties. They had me like come out, and I like rolled in the speaker, sat in the corner and DJ'd. And I was like, literally, it was like 30 people in a yoga. It was like a pack, but I was just like, man, this is fun. And instantly people were like, "Can you come back next month?" I was just like, is this for real? Like, am I going to be DJing a yoga class? And then like kind of like word spread, like, hey, there's this guy who like plays awesome music during yoga. And I started becoming this DJ that would play yoga classes, and people started paying me money to do it. And then somehow Wanderlust heard of me and invited me to their event in 2014, was it, in Chicago in Grant Park. And there was like 6,000 or 7,000 people doing yoga. And I wasn't still like part of the Wanderlust family yet. It was just like a one-off event, you know? And I remember that was a day I had this feeling of like, holy shit, this could be like a career path for me. Like there's an audience here that love music. They love to get spiritual and mindful. These people are like looking for deeper purpose in their life, and they love music. I'm like, that's what I'm all about, you know? And like, I practiced yoga, you know, meditation. And this was like, yes, it was more corporate. Wanderlust was like, it felt more corporate and like, but I was like, these are the people I want to talk to, like, because these are new men and women that are like looking for spirituality. They're like looking for that world. They're like hungry for that stuff, you know? And I remember being in that world just a few years ago. Like, these are the people I want to like work with and share music and stuff like that. And then like their CEO, like one of their co-founders emailed me himself. It wasn't even like,
wow.
It was like weird because I was like, oh my God, this guy, it was Jeff Krasno. He was like one of the co-founders of Wanderlust. And he emailed me directly, and I was just like, dude, this is like, I told my wife, I'm like, is this guy own Wanderlust? This like, what? And so I like literally had a phone conversation with him, and he's like, we want to invite you to our festivals, and we like what you're doing. And so they were like looking, I was like, really, so I was invited into that party in a really awesome way. by their co-founder. So I felt this connection from them from the beginning. It wasn't that I was applying to get in, but they like, so that was a huge doorway that opened for me. And while that was happening, I was also working deeply with Yoga Journal. Okay. And that was another big, deep getting with like a lot of teachers, you know, working with teachers. And so somehow like really early on, I was like, I'm grateful that I was invited into these gatherings of yogis that really helped me see that world really quickly, you know, and connect with people.
Yeah, brought you into the, you just became absorbed with it. And it's absorbed, interesting. Once you wrote your purpose, it just seemed like the universe took care of the rest almost. I mean, you did a lot of, I'm sure you worked for it and everything, but yeah, that purpose
writing
gave you.
So this is something that I think is very helpful for anyone that's listening to this. Like whether you think you know your purpose or you kind of been, you know, messing around with it, get in the habit of writing down an intention or a purpose, because once you do that, it starts like becoming alive. It's like you're putting it, it's like you're signing on a contract with yourself, and the universe starts like orchestrating. It's like what am I gonna do to get this, you know, to this guy or girl who's like wanting to do this in their life? Like, what do I need to do? So they start orchestrating all the moves, you know. So writing down is like so powerful, and it becomes alive, you know. And like I said, I wasn't even producing music at that time in 2012. That was like years later that I started.
Yeah, when did that start? When did you start producing music?
Well, I was kind of messing around with it 2014, like just went on GarageBand, like seriously, like super no idea like what it really was to produce music, but I was just like, I have GarageBand and I know how to play the piano. So like I could just so I was just like making music. If you listen to some of my old stuff, that stuff was like, I mean, people still, you can still listen to it, but it's like, I didn't really know what I was doing as far as music production goes. I know music theory back then. That's why the style still sounds like decent music, but the production is like, you know. And then 2000, well, it's like I think 2016 or 17, I was in conversation with Rara Avis, who's actually one of the co-founders of Desert Dwellers. Maybe you've heard of that group.
Okay, yeah, Desert Dwellers, yes.
I was doing a lesson with him, and he told me, he's like, man, you're really talented, but you need to like go to school or like take some real classes to learn music production. That's just gonna take you to the next level. And I took his word, and I took him up on that, and I signed up with a school called Pyramind online. I did an online school for like 1 year, and that was like a revolutionary change for me. That was like, and that was just 2017 going into 2017 or 2000. Yeah, I think 8. Maybe it was 2018. It was just a few years ago. But that took me from like here as a music producer to like here, and I'm still learning and growing.
That is awesome. That's good advice for anyone out there, you know, listening too. You know, if they want to get in the music industry, you know, how big of a bump that took you, taking that year of educating yourself. I'm sure that wasn't easy. You know,
it was not easy. I loved every bit of it, but I used it in because I was already producing music, you know, like, because I was already making music, but I didn't know what all the bells and whistles that I was like working with were. You know, there's so much geeky stuff in there. This is advice to anyone that's listening to this, well, not just for music production, just for anything that you're into. You need to educate yourself hardcore about whatever you're interested in. Okay, and I just did another podcast like a couple of weeks ago. Kevin Watley, our friend.
Yeah, he's awesome. Kevin's awesome.
Kevin Watley.
Yeah, everybody's got to check Synchronicity show also. Yeah.
And I was talking about this similar concept. Is like, you need to educate yourself with whatever it is that you want to do. So if it's podcasting or making videos or, you know, playing the piano or making music or acting, take some online, take a masterclass. There's a million of those out there. Everyone's got their masterclass. Like, find who your hero is, and they probably have a masterclass, and learn everything you can as much. And you won't learn everything, because there's so much about every subject, you know. I'm still constantly watching tutorials. learning, watching from people that have been doing this for 30 years. You need to get inside their heads. Like, teach me your secrets, teach me your strategies, teach me how you do things. Because again, those are perspectives. There's many ways to do those things. So like, educate yourself about the subject that you're trying to work on, because you try to figure that stuff out by yourself. Yeah, you'll figure it out. It'll take you a lot longer. You want to figure it out in 20 years, or you want to figure it out a lot quicker than that, like in a couple of years, 2 years? Because there's people who are like, I don't need to pay for that. I'm going to learn it with YouTube videos. Sure, you can do that. YouTube videos are great. But then there's a different level when you actually like sign up for a course, or there's things that click. And that energetic investment that you put into it, this is my perspective. I like to pay for things. Meaning, I like to pay for education. I like to, like, and I feel like I'm not paying for that. I'm actually paying for myself. I'm investing in myself. I'm the stock that I'm trading, and I'm investing in myself as like a majority stock shareholder, or whatever you want to think of it. Exactly. So every time I educate myself, every time I'm paying, say, $300 course, $1,000 course, I'm paying this person $500 to learn something. I'm investing in myself. If I can learn one strategy or one trick or one secret that's going to affect my business, it's worth it.
I love that, man. I love that, man. That's something that I heard last week also, just with one of my teachers, David Snyder. He's just like, yeah, when you make the investment, in education for your personal growth, like it should feel uncomfortable, because if it's something like, $100, whatever, like you might probably not complete it because it's not that much of a, out of your comfort zone. And it's like, yeah, once you like dive deep and really invest in yourself, like you get that return back. I mean, you have to agree. Like if you spend the money on yourself for education, like you get that back almost 10 times.
Every time, you have to actually do it. Something like I've definitely bought things in the past, and I've not watched the full course or whatever. Like, we've all done that, but I'm in a place now of really taking, like, I don't like being in Florida since October. We actually do not watch TV anymore. Every once in a while, my wife and I will watch a movie like on a Sunday, like just one thing here and there. But like, because this is not our home, we don't have our regular setup. Like, we're watching a lot less entertainment or TV. I'm spending more time like either working or watching my own tutorials or learning stuff and doing whatever. And it has been game changer. I think like from October 2020 till now that I went on vacation with my family, my production has changed a ton. Like, I've learned so much. I've written about 40, 50 songs. I'm not even kidding you, while being down in Florida. But it's because I've showed up to myself to educate myself. And when you learn new things, you're like, oh, shoot, I'm going to go use this stuff in my production. I'm going to do that. I'm going to apply it right away. Like, apply it right away. Don't wait for the next thing.
That's really good advice. Apply it right away. Practice it right away. Because, like you were saying, you can watch something on YouTube, but if you're not doing it, if you're not taking the action and practicing over and over again, like you're not going to learn it. That's what I've noticed myself. The theory's good, listening to it and be like, oh, I have the knowledge, but what the fuck are you doing with the knowledge and the theory? Like, are you practicing? Are you doing it over and over again?
Like, okay, so I'll share this because a lot of people out there some people may connect to this. It's called like shiny toy syndrome. Like, I definitely like love to buy things. All right. Like, especially when it comes to my craft, technology and my thing is I love to buy things and then use them. Like, there's this, like, I hate, like, a lot of times, like, you'll buy something, you won't use it. I've like gone the other way. It's like, I will buy things and purposefully try to use what I bought, but like I'm talking about like music technology and stuff like that, like they're called plugins, for example, like I will use what I purchase. Like, I want to learn how to do that. And again, that comes with education. So you're investing in your craft and use it. So it's not just it's not enough to just say yes to certain things. You've got to actually do it, and practice it and make that a part of your habit, and sometimes, yes, you may need to try a few different things before you find the right one. So that's why it's also good to keep learning new strategies, because it's not like you're going to use all of them. So you may learn 10 ways to mix a song, but you may only really use 3 of them, you know, and then learn 10 more. And it's just like, so it's like learn as much as you can, because trust me, you're not going to use all of it, even if you want to. But if a few of those things stick, good. But lifelong student, come on, let's do it.
Love it. Lifelong student. And this leads me to the next thing I want to know. So what is one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
The music career?
Music career, yeah.
I would have loved to have learned more marketing, like how to like assemble a team, or I'm still learning all that stuff, but I think like that's the big thing, being an independent musician, you know, between like having like a record label or a big management team and being a solo, is how do you get your music out there to people? You know, I've been really blessed with a lot of the, I had a marketing background in college. That's actually what I went to school for. So thank God my mind is kind of there, but I would have loved to have learned way more, you know, and I'm especially in the music world. So that's one thing. And again, like music production, you know, it took me many years to get to that, to actually take classes and invest in myself. I'm so grateful for that journey. However, it took me there. But if I were to go back to myself, I'd be like, hey, it's 2012. You need to learn the technology on how to produce music, because that's what you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like in a whole different world right now if I had those 5 years, or, you know, whatever, because 5 years, I mean, like I was just talking about, like just 3 months makes a huge difference. Like, you know, like again, if you learn a few new strategies, it can change your entire way of like making music or whatever your craft is. You know what I mean? Oh my God, you're supposed to do this. I had no idea. Now I'm going to do this on every single thing I work on. You know, like this is with any craft, you know? Oh, this switch was supposed to be turned on. I never even knew about that switch. You know, like
there's the volume switch. Wow.
Yeah, every career has things like that I don't even know about that, you know?
Yeah.
So you got to know about it by learning and continue learning.
It's crazy how time flies. Like it really is crazy. Thinking about, you know, 2012 and 2014, and now it's 2021. It's crazy how fast that goes. But where do you see yourself in 10 years?
In 10 years, 10 years, what do I? Okay, like I said, like I really hope that I'm involved with music somehow. And at the same time, I know that our purpose is evolving. Okay. Especially now I have a family and things may change. Like I may get, you know, a job or doing something. I don't know yet. So I hope, like right now, my purpose is writing music and elevating communities with it by performing. Am I going to be DJing in 10 years? I don't know. Maybe. DJing it's a lot of work when you're traveling around the world with all your stuff, you know, and doing events, setting it up, doing whatever, and all the stuff. It's a lot of work, and I love doing it. But in 10 years, I'll be like, you know, 40 something. I really hope to be working in the movie business.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. I hope to be writing scores, working with teams, working with companies like, say, Pixar or Disney, you know, working with their music teams. I think that would be really collaboratively cool, and you can affect millions of people that way.
Yeah, you'd still be living your mission.
Absolutely.
Doing that.
And I can still produce music and put it out under my name or whatever. Like it's not like none of that stuff goes away. That's the cool thing. It's like you just do something different and you keep that. And you know, if you're a musician, that music lives forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Digitally, it's there, YouTube, like wherever you're at. And tell everybody where you're at. Like where can they find you?
The best places are like Spotify, Apple Music. Everything's under DJ Taz Rashid. If you practice yoga or teach online, just go to my website, djtazrashid.com. I made a program where I've made all my music royalty free, like in a program, so you can like use it legally in all your stuff, in your classes, online courses. And there's a ton of music in this library. And so check that out. Super affordable. It's ridiculous.
Yes.
Use it.
We're gonna link that up. I use it in Relax with Yogi Bryan podcast. It's just like a meditation podcast, and it is definitely worth what I pay a year, because it helps you, it helps me. That's the great thing about it. You know how sometimes, I don't know if anybody out there has this, where you ask to use someone's music and they might just be like, yeah, you can use this song or whatever, and then like for me, I felt a little guilty. I'm just like, I got to give back somehow. Yeah, I'll promote you on my page, but I love that I pay into it and then I just use it for what I need to use it for, and shout you out as well. So it's a great thing, everybody. If you need music, check it out. I'll link it.
Yeah, I worked hard on putting that all together last year in 2020, like when the virus hit and everyone's home. I literally like hundreds of teachers reached out to me over the course of the year being like, hey, like, can I use your music? And I knew that like I had to make an affordable solution for teachers online and yoga studios, and I put this whole thing together, and it's helping hundreds of teachers that are part of the subscription and using it. So I'm seeing the products out there, people using it. So that's the beautiful thing. It's like it's being used, and it lights up my heart, because again, that'll go out forever, because these teachers are creating videos that's affecting hundreds of their community members and yoga teachers that they're working with and whoever. So meditation, fitness,
right, especially with Zoom, you can throw your music on the background on another device, and it's pretty, once you get the hang of it. I mean, it took me a little bit to get the hang of it, but once you get the hang of it, you just throw your music in the background. You got a lot of music on there, so it's a whole yoga playlist of you, and you don't have to worry about
I think there's like over 100 playlists even created on Spotify and Apple Music in the program. So and we'll be updating that stuff. So yeah, check it out. Thanks so much, Brian, for
heck yeah. Is there anything else you want to share before we sign off here?
I 2021, I think, is this like year that all of us need to step it up even more. I mean, we've all been asked to step up a lot in 2020 because of all the changes, but 2021 is a year that is really going to reveal like that journey of how we're getting through it and then where we're going to go. So like my question that I ask myself is like, how can I elevate all these things that I've been working with? And that's what I invite everyone is to look into and see, like, where are you at with your projects and how can you rise up to yourself even more in 2021 and express yourself in like a more liberated way into deeper abundance. And I know there are solutions out there for all of us, no matter what situation we're in or issue that we're facing. We can always like take any obstacle and turn it into an opportunity. I really feel that, and I believe it, and hopefully we can all find the abundance in our lives out there.
Slow golf clap on that one. Right on. I'm going to take that challenge on. I love that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
DJ Taz Rashid. Appreciate it. Bro. Appreciate you being on, and much love. We'll link everything down below. You got to go add him on your playlist. Go follow him on social media. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. If you're on Spotify, follow me on Spotify, because then you'll get all my releases easily. So that's a good place to do that.
Right there. Spotify. Thank you all for listening. Taz, you're awesome, man. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Namaste.